Coronavirus restrictions going into effect, what to expect in both Kentucky and Ohio. Corruption at Cincinnati City Hall, a look at what can be done to prevent it. And the UC football team plays in Florida today, the reason this could be the team's biggest test yet.
Breaking news alerts and the Weather Authority forecast. This is Good Morning Cincinnati, live on Local 12.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good to have you with us. Kind of a mellow news day today. We can all use one of those every now and then. Still plenty to talk about, though, including, Brad, really did not feel like rain this morning. Not really fog, maybe kind of a mist or a spritz. Yes, Mother Nature spritzed on me.
A little misty, drizzly, dreary day. We'll break down these weather makers for you coming up. David.
All right, thank you, Brad. Another weekend, another shooting to report in the Cincinnati area. New this morning, a man is in critical condition after a shooting in Lincoln Heights. It happened just before 11 last night on Stephens Avenue. Deputies with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office say they found 45-year-old Greg McIntosh suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. There's no word yet what led to that shooting, but we will keep our eye on it and let you know when we get more information, of course. And we are learning new information this morning about the man who was shot and killed Thursday during a robbery in East Price Hill. Police say the man is 19-year-old Deshaun Lamar Ty. Initial reports show that Ty held up the Mage's grocery store on Glenway Avenue near Purcell. The employee shot Ty during that holdup. Ty was taken to the hospital and later died from his injuries. At first, police could not identify him, but they put out an alert with a description of his tattoos, which helped lead to his identification. Investigators are still seeking more information about the incident, so if you know anything, you are asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 513-352-3040. And new coronavirus restrictions have gone into effect in the state of Kentucky, and they could affect your weekend plans. There is no more indoor dining in Kentucky. Restaurants can do carry-out and delivery, and people can eat outside. Also, venues that host events like banquet halls and wedding receptions, they are limited to 25 people per room. Gyms are reduced to 33% occupancy, and no group classes are allowed. One business in Grant County is openly defying the indoor dining order. The owner of Beans Cafe and Bakery posted on Facebook yesterday, "Come dine with us." And there was quite a crowd inside last night after the order had gone into effect. Many people who live in that area purposely came out to show their opposition to the order.
I think it's absolute overreach. You know, we're adults. If people don't feel safe coming to a place like this, then they have the option to stay at home.
Well, this is not the first time Beans Cafe and Bakery has been at odds with the orders. It was part of a lawsuit against previous governor's orders. The Kentucky Supreme Court unanimously sided with the governor. In Ohio, we are 2 nights deep into a 3-week curfew designed to help contain the coronavirus, but there are still plenty of questions about enforcing it. It is, of course, difficult to enforce, and whether it will be definitely depends on where you live. If you're in Hamilton County, both the sheriff and the Cincinnati Police Department say they are carrying out the orders. You'll get a verbal warning first, and then you could be cited for a misdemeanor if there's a second violation. But the sheriffs in Warren, Butler, and Claremont counties say they will not be enforcing the law.
I can never say never, but for us, it's at the very bottom of our priorities. Again, if you look at the order, there's really nothing for us. And there's so many exceptions to it. For us, we're not interested.
Well, the sheriffs say they do hope it will not matter and people will abide by the curfew on their own without enforcement. After 3 Cincinnati City Council members were arrested this year on corruption charges, calls for reform at City Hall are growing louder. The FBI arrested Councilman P.G. Sittenfeld on Thursday. They arrested Jeff Pastor last week. And of course, Council member Tamaya Denard is getting sentenced on Tuesday. It's been nearly 100 years since major reform rooted out longstanding corruption at City Hall. And as Walter Smith Randolph reports, some people say it's time the city gets back to basics.
In the 1920s, at City Hall, Walter Smith Randolph, Local 12 News.
Thank you, Walter. Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieter says that he will not try to remove P.G. Sittenfeld from office. He and Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost have intervened in Tamaya Denard and Jeff Pastor's cases. Well, happening today, Crossroads Church is gathering food for its Thanksgiving food drive. The church has already been distributing boxes at its services so people can put all their donations inside and drop them off quickly. Today and tomorrow, the donations will actually be collected at its many locations. You can drop off at the flagship location in Oakley from noon till 5 today. For the satellite sites, check in with those individual congregations. And the University of Cincinnati has what is perhaps its biggest test of the season today. The Bearcats, they are undefeated so far. Today, they take on one of their biggest league rivals, though, the University of Central Florida. UCF may have had 2 losses this year already, but they are the top defensive team in the AAC. UC head coach Luke Fickell says he is fully aware of the magnitude of this game.
This is a huge game, our toughest test.
I look forward to seeing it. Thanks, Luke. Today's game starts at 3:30 p.m. in Orlando. All right, coming up, we are following a scam that is tied to coronavirus vaccines, what you should know to keep from getting scammed. That's coming up just ahead. But first, there was a mass shooting at a mall in Wisconsin. The latest details coming up on Good Morning Cincinnati Saturday. With a rare appearance by President Trump as he changed his schedule to speak in the Brady briefing room about new medical advances. But he also made clear he still thinks he won the election. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman shows us what happened.
In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
All right, thank you, Scott. Police are still searching for a suspect in a mass shooting at a mall in Wisconsin. It happened yesterday at the Mayfield Mall in suburban Milwaukee. 7 adults and a teenager were injured. Details about the extent of their injuries is unknown, but all of them are still alive. Investigators say the shooter is a white man in his 20s or 30s. The teenager charged with killing 2 protesters in Wisconsin this summer is out of jail. Kyle Rittenhouse posted his $2 million bond yesterday. Rittenhouse is seen on video walking down the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin back in August with a long gun. People were protesting the police shooting of Jacob Blake at the time. Rittenhouse is not from Kenosha. He went there as part of a group of self-appointed, quote, protectors of the streets. A legal defense fund for him has raised millions of dollars. The Better Business Bureau says criminals are already trying to cash in on vaccines. You might get a text message or see a Facebook post in the next few days about a trial, but there's a red flag to remember.
The text message says that you could earn up to $1,200 or asking for your banking information.
Well, the bottom line is don't click on the link if you receive one of the messages. If you want to check on an organization looking for participation in a clinical trial, go to this link. It's a government database for clinical trials. A crime victims law that appeared on the ballot twice goes into effect in Kentucky. Yesterday, the State Board of Elections certified the results of the election. More than 63% of voters approved Amendment 1, which is known as Marsy's Law. The law gives crime victims specific constitutional rights, such as the right to be present at trials and notified about the release of the accused. Kentucky voters approved an amendment in 2018, but it was thrown out because a court ruled that it was too vague. As work gets into full swing on the Brent Spence Bridge, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet shows us how bridge inspectors got the job done. This video shows the role that drones played to inspect the concrete and steel after that fiery crash involving 2 tractor trailers last week. Right after the crash, the drones could get to places inspectors could not because of the large amount of debris. The target date to reopen the bridge is December 23rd. And just down the river, the Purple People Bridge is looking very purpley this morning, as Elf would say. The bridge now has 1,000 purple and white holiday lights on it, and it has a 25-foot Christmas tree on it as well. It's really cool for people who are walking from Sawyer Point on the Ohio side over to Newport on the Levee on the Kentucky side. And if that doesn't get your holiday spirit flowing, this next story is definitely going to do the trick. The PNC Festival of Lights opens today at the Cincinnati Zoo. Catherine is outside the gates right now, trying to bust in. Can you see any lights from where you are, Catherine?
Well, thankfully, I don't need to do any busting in this morning. So plenty of time. Just make sure you get those tickets in advance. David?
Looks so cool, Catherine. Hey, not that anyone really wants more election news, but I understand there is some voting to be done this morning with the Festival of Lights.
I think people will like this kind of voting this time around for the Cincinnati. Right now they are in first place, but I'm sure they would love your votes to try to make it 3-time champions, David.
All right, thanks, Catherine. And I do understand the voting ends on December 7th, so we will have a link to vote on local12.com. Coming up, we'll show you how one local county is helping deal with homelessness caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Plus, the SPCA has an adorable little kitty to show us. It's looking for a good home. Is yours that good home? We'll have all that coming up next on Good Morning Cincinnati Saturday.
The SPCA Cincinnati, your hometown humane society. Make it a great morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikita. That was one rambunctious kitten. Brad, are you a cat person or a dog person?
I'm a goat person. Goats, then dogs. Cats are okay. You know, I'm a little allergic.
You like to cuddle up to a nice goat.
But I do get a little stiffly. Yeah, goats, yeah, like cuddle too. I had a goat once and it acted just like a dog. Weather looks good for that as well. David.
Thank you, Brad. I'm assuming you probably had, when you were a kid, wishes for maybe a new wind vane or something like that for Christmas. Well, every year there are those must-have, impossible to get toys around Christmas. Coming up, we're going to tell you what those are this year, and we'll have more news, weather, and sports coming up. One thing the pandemic certainly will not change about the holidays this year, kids are still going to want toys. Naomi Ruckham takes a look at what's popular this year.
Pull the ripcord and let it fly.
The race is on. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Gotta have that baby Yoda. Good to see that Legos and Barbies are still in there, though. All right, coming up, we are following the latest restrictions that have gone into effect due to the coronavirus, how it could alter your weekend plans in Ohio and Kentucky. That's coming up just ahead. Plus, trying to fight the corruption at Cincinnati City Hall. The new efforts to do it by looking closely at the city's charter and going back to basics. That is all coming up next on Good Morning Cincinnati Saturday.